Coca-Cola, symbol of Free West. Hey, Yori, my tatas have gone. Serious. Last Sunday night on my show, The Velocity of Now, on Type 1 Radio, I predicted that there would be loads more stories in the media following the Spanish train crash, and the idea of this was to bring in driverless train technology, and these stories would revolve around how dangerous train drivers are. This is because these high-tech startup rollout companies who get massive financing from the foundations are looking to put in as many driverless train systems as possible. Driverless trains are quite common in metro systems already, and some light rail systems. They're run by a central computer, very transhumanist, very Agenda 21, but they're not used in modern, high-speed commuter intercity trains, but they can be done. It's not that difficult. The technology is there. Basically, the control is run from a central computer, which runs the signals, the locomotive, and everything in between. There's no driver needed. The idea now, I said, when this train crash would happen in Spain, this would be used as an excuse to try and push this agenda by the scumbags in the mainstream media. Lo and behold, not even a week has passed. Not even a week has passed, right? And there are now endless stories in the media about train drivers falling asleep, and an interesting one about a train in crash in Switzerland, where we're all told that Swiss railways are not synonymous with perfection, brilliant services, safety, and it was caused by good old driver error. Now, there's two reasons for this. They downgraded train crews over the years. They took away the fireman and the guard, and these guys used to act as safety kind of valves in the old days. In case a driver fell asleep or got sick, they could do things. They could stop the train. They could call the dispatcher and so on, and they could prevent accidents. But because they were planning to sell national rail systems to private companies in order to reduce the operating costs for the private corporations, prior to privatization, they had done away with the guard and the firemen. They were kind of leftovers from the steam engine days. Now, so what's happening now is we're going to get lots and lots of mass hysteria in the media by the scumbags in mainstream journalism who, working for the corporations and governments, will whip up stories about how dangerous trains are because train drivers can't be trusted. This will all be to, bring in the driverless train technology, and that fits in with Agenda 21. Now you, laugh out loud, conspiracy theorist motherfuckers, pay attention to this bit, because if you know your history and you research instead of ridicule, you will know that the Rockefeller family, Standard Oil, and Goodyear Firestone deliberately purchased and destroyed the vast interurban rail and trolley network in the United States after World War II. Yes, the Rockefeller family and Goodyear Standard Oil Firestone came together and they bought up this vast network of rail-based public transport system that existed all over the US, and then destroyed them, and it led to accidents, including one that brought them to a federal lawsuit, which they were found guilty of by the US government of deliberately causing train crashes in order to sell more cars, buses, oil, diesel, tires, and so on. They were fined $1, I believe, by the US government for what was basically purposeful homicide in order to sell their psychopathic corporate means. Now, so research that and read up on that. We have a historical precedent. This is not conspiracy theory. This is how these psychopathic breeds behave. This filth, this Rockefeller filth, is doing it again. I guarantee you, if you start searching back through these high-tech companies who develop these driverless transit systems, you will either find that they are directly owned by the globalists like the Rockefellers, or they are funded through a foundation that's part of some kind of climate change Agenda 21 transhumanist agenda. It didn't even take a week for this hysteria to be whipped up in the media. So be very wary of these stories. And you tell people that that's the purpose of these stories, and if they say to you, oh, that's a bit much, it sounds like conspiracy theory, go get the story of the Standard Oil, Rockefeller, Goodyear Firestone deliberate annihilation of the of the destruction of the American interurban and trolley car system, which I might add had to be rebuilt years later. You look at cities like Newark, Cleveland, Portland, Oregon, LA, and all the other places where the Rockefellers destroyed the previous rail system. They all had to be rebuilt. They all had to be rebuilt because the highways became congested, and all of them were built with enormous expense to the taxpayer, and then they were handed over to private companies. That's what happened to the light rail system in Dublin. It was built by the Irish taxpayer and then handed literally to, I think it was Connex or one of the big French multinationals, or Serco, one of those things. So history's repeating itself again, because if you know anything about psychopaths, and you know anything about how they function, they always recycle their tried and trusted business methods because they're not very dynamic. They're sneaky and they're manipulative and they'll gaslight and they're vicious and they're dangerous, but they have no morality. And so that's the reason of all these horror stories in the media, of train crashes and drivers falling asleep. It's simply to sell driverless train technology. So check out my radio show, please, every Sunday night, 7 p.m. GMT, The Velocity of Now on Type 1 Radio. Details on my website, thomassheridanarts.com, and look after yourselves and try to survive this fucked up world run by psychopaths. And I'll go back to dissolving my bollocks. Bye-bye.